Welcome back to the Divorce and Money podcast. My name is Gabriela Martinelli. I am a divorce financial strategist, certified divorce financial analyst, and the founder at Ever After Wealth. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of your divorce financial strategy during your process and why working with someone like me is not a luxury, it's actually essential. Marriage is about love. Divorce is about money. Without the right guidance, critical mistakes can have lasting financial consequences. That is where I come in. My name is Gabriela Martinelli, founder at Ever After Wealth. As a certified divorce financial analyst, I provide my clients financial clarity, strategic divorce planning, and long-term stability. On this podcast, I am sharing what you need to know about getting through a divorce, protecting your legacy, growing your wealth and assets post-divorce, and figuring it out what you really want in this next stage of life. Let's get started. So for those that are just joining me today for the first time, I'm a certified divorce financial analyst. I have more than 20 years of experience working in the divorce world. I work mainly with business owners and physicians and their spouses to help them find clarity where they're going through a divorce. And my work is centered on the financial strategy. So we work about identifying the marital state, looking into all of the parts that form that marital state. We look at income, support, budget, all of those little nuances that had to do with the money. And I help them find the clarity to make those decisions. The financial decisions you're going to make during this process are like the most important decisions you're going to make in your life, and they're going to affect the rest of your life. So one of the biggest misconceptions that I run into is that an attorney or your attorney can handle every single part of this process. And that is simply not true. First of all, attorneys are legal experts. They are not financial experts, and that is very important to keep in mind. So they have a lot of experience. They work very complex financial cases, but that does not make them financial experts. That's where I come in as a financial expert. So I want to share a couple of stories with you so you can have an understanding how I work and how I can make a difference. The first one was a lady that reached out to me 2 years ago. She had a very complex financial situation. She was the stay-at-home parent. Her husband ran a business, runs several accounts. In reality, she was not really sure what their marital state was. She knew there was a lot of money movement, so she needed a little bit of tracing done. And she was going to need help basically understanding, right? What's the marital state? What is the stake here? What are my options? And based on what she wanted to accomplish, what were the best options for her? At that time, when she was ready to work with me, her attorney told her that he was an expert, that she didn't need me, that he was going to do all the calculations for her and he can do the tracing, and she was not going to need to hire me because it was going to be an extra expense. That was it for me. I didn't hear from her. 2 years later, a month ago or so, she reached out back to me. What happened during those 2 years was that she decided not to hire me because of the attorney's advice. That same attorney worked with her only for 3-4 more months and told her that it was too complicated. The finances were too complicated and he couldn't work with her. So she had to go find another attorney. Another attorney that also told her that, yes, they had the complex financial matters and they were going to help her. But now, a year and a half after she started working with that attorney, nothing has happened. The attorney still don't understand the finances, telling her that they didn't have the documents, and when they have the documents, they didn't understand them, that it was way more complex than they anticipated in the beginning. And now she is 2 years later, run out of money because attorney's fees can run up pretty high when you're going through this process, and nothing to show for. She's in a position where she cannot hire me now because she has spent the money she had in attorneys that didn't resolve anything and they didn't find anything for her. They did not do a financial analysis for her. On top of that, I wanted to point out that it's not only about her not having the funds anymore to hire the expert, it's the fact that she listened to the expert that tried to convince her that they didn't need the actual expert, which was the financial expert, which was me. And the fact that during those 2 years, we don't know what happened. We're talking about a very complex financial situation that she really didn't understand. And then 2 years later, I promise you, those finances are even more complicated because we don't know what happened with the money, right? First of all, we don't know what the money was, what were the accounts, how was the business structure, how was the business operating. And now we have 2 more years of looking for things that she could have potentially saved, not just the 2 years, but a lot of the money. Because if she would have hired me at the time, yes, she would have to make an investment on my funds to pay for my work, but I could have worked with her attorney. I could have done all the financial analysis. I could have had the tracing. I'm sorry. I could have done everything for her, work with her attorney, have a strategy, and potentially at this time have a solution. She still doesn't have a solution. She still doesn't have any part of that marital estate that she's entitled to. And now she's out of funds that she cannot get back. And simply because she chose, and yes, it was her choice to believe the attorney when the attorney said that they were an expert. So there's a twofold outcome of this story is that, yes, she did believe the attorney because why wouldn't you, right? Your attorney is the expert. You cannot go through this process without your attorney. So you want to believe that your attorney is giving you the best advice and what is in your best interest. And at the same time, when she knew she needed someone like me and wanted to work with me, her choice was to maybe not spend the money and maybe pay the attorney. At the end of the day, she lost a lot of money. She still didn't have an analysis. And this is actually creating more overwhelm, more insecurity, and potentially more of a financial pitfall for her as she moves forward, because there's really no other way right now. She has to continue this battle and she has no funds. So she will be in a very difficult situation probably going forward. And she did mention she was really sorry she didn't hire me. And I understand. I think that is why it's very important that when someone is faced with this type of situation, remember that there is experts like me out there, and there's a reason why you need me or someone like me if you don't want to work with me. But it's very important to work with a CDFA because that's what we're experts of. We are the experts of the divorce finances, which are very complex in themselves. They're different from any other financial decisions you're going to make. So you have to understand what your needs are. And working with someone like me, like I said in the beginning, is not a luxury. It's really essential. The next story I want to share with you is of a client that actually hired me. Now, he did not hire me in the beginning of the case. He did not hire me when he started going through this process. He hired me after 4 years of going through this process. And yes, you heard me right. I said 4 years. By the time he hired me, he'd been in litigation for 3 years. And he did not know what to do. He was very confused about the process. He didn't understand the process, not the numbers. This person is a physician. He was very smart. He ran his own practice. And at the same time, he felt that his life was on hold, right? For 4 years, he could not do anything for 4 years because he couldn't buy a new home. He couldn't do anything. His money was still tied up. He couldn't touch money that was part of the marital estate. He was working with an attorney, right? He had an attorney for the last 4 years. He still didn't understand. My question to him was, okay, well, you have experts, right? Because I saw, you can look into the court filings, all of his experts. And he had a business valuator for his practice. And he has a CDFA that was working with on his income and for budget purposes and for support purposes. He had all kinds of experts talking about different parts of his financial picture. And I asked him, I said, well, what are they saying? Because he did not understand what was happening. And his words to me was like, I have never talked to them. So he is paying these experts that were hired by his attorney, and he never talked to them. And he wanted to resolve this case. And all the attorneys were doing is going through depositions and trying to come up with a preparation for trial. Hopefully he was getting ready to go to trial 7 months after we started working together. And of course, he also worked with an attorney that wanted to preserve his experts. He was not intended to work with outside experts that his client wanted to work with. So I worked with him behind the lines, and nobody knew I was working with him. And I started from the beginning. I did an analysis of what's happening. I looked at his business valuations. I found holes on his business valuations so he could take that information to his attorney as if he had acquired that information, if he found the information in this valuation. That helped because we were able to poke holes on the other side's valuation, which helps when you're going to call as you prepare for trial. But the main part is like I was able to explain to him what his marital state was, what his options were. And because of that, he was able to restart the conversations about settlement with his ex-spouse. And it was done through the attorneys, but he was able to bring an option. We started working about what was good for him, what he wanted to accomplish as he was going through this process, what would be the best financial option for him as we were going through this process. And because of that, we were able to send a proposal. He relayed this to his attorney. The attorney sent it to the other side, and the conversation started. So he and I were working counter offers, looking at numbers, looking at calculations, see how it would affect him, it wouldn't affect him. And he actually settled. He was able to settle before he went to court, before the trial started, which, by the way, saved him thousands and thousands of dollars because he had received already the invoice from the attorney to prepare for trial, and it was $55,000 just to prepare. And then you had 4 days that they had set up for trial that he was going to have to pay the attorney, the associate, all of those experts that didn't have one conversation with him about his case. He also was going to have to pay them to show up in court. But he was able to resolve it. Why? Because he turned around and looked for the help, and he found me. And he and I worked strategy. And I was able to explain to him why the numbers were the way they were, why the attorney was saying certain things about the potential division, and what was good for him, and start the conversation again. Because numbers are complicated, and he is a very smart physician. He runs a practice. He has a lot of knowledge. He understands numbers. But the numbers of the divorce are very complicated, and they're like different calculations, different numbers. It's very hard for anyone to really understand that if you don't have someone to bring that clarity and also have this strategy behind it. You need to understand what is there, what do you need as you move forward, what is that you really want, what do you need to accomplish it, and let's have that conversation. So working with someone like me, even if you had to work behind the lines and nobody knows that you're working with me, is going to bring the strategy that you need to move forward. Literally, after 4 years of this, within 4 months of he and I working together, he settled his case. And this was not an easy one. It was very complex. It was a medical practice. It was a lot of real estate. There was a lot of financial accounts and different items that had different characteristics, if you will. But we were able to find it. We were able to look into a number for alimony that he was going to pay, and all taking into consideration his life. His life was on hold. We wanted to move forward. What did he need to move forward? And we found that compromise that allowed him to move forward, be in a good position financially, not losing his medical practice, and actually thriving after the process was done. 4 months of working with me made a whole lot of difference that didn't make 4 years of working with a very good attorney and all of their experts that he never had communication with. So this is why it's important for you to know that you can work with me, whether I'm working with your attorney or not, but I will give you that clarity. I will help you to have those conversations, and I will help you identify what would be the best option for you so you can protect your business, you can protect your livelihood, you can have plans as you go forward and thrive and not lose yourself and your money while you're at it. So the last story I want to share with you is not really one story. I'm going to refer to one of my clients, but this happens with a lot of my clients. And is when I actually become a team member of the divorce team for my clients. And I work with the attorneys. And that is the ideal way to work through this process. And I do understand it cannot happen all the time. So that's why my messages, work with me regardless. But when I can work with attorneys, it actually, my strategy for the numbers can be combined with the legal strategy of the attorney. We can come up with this together strategy, which actually is even better for my clients because we have every angle tackle. We know exactly what we're doing. And I can help with the financial side, and the attorney can bring the twist of the legal side, which is at the end of the day where we're basing everything in this process, right? Is the law. Divorce law is going to trump everything. There's tax consequences. There's all kinds of other financial little nuances that we need to know because the divorce is itself and it's in the world. It's just its own bubble. But in reality, you have to combine the two, and you can. And if it's done correctly, if it's done as in a team, it can be done. I had conversations. I actually had a conversation with an attorney last week with one of my clients, and I had a lot of fundings in this case, and I shared them with her, and she's like, okay, what can we do? And I said, well, this is what I think we could do from the financial point of view, and maybe we can present it this way. And she's like, oh, that is probably a good idea, but let's do it this way, because she brings the legal side of things. And now we have a plan. And my client is going to be okay, but we have a strategy that is covered on both sides, the legal and the financial, and we're prepared for him. There is not a lot. I don't know how much I can say in order to explain and for people to understand that an attorney and a CDFA are essentials in this process. Because I am not an expert of the law, and I do have 15 years of experience working with attorneys. So I do understand the legal strategy, even though I cannot give and I do not give legal advice. So I understand how the court is looking at the cases. And at the same time, I have my financial expertise. And when I bring it combined with an attorney, I usually get really good results for the clients. And the clients are the ones that benefit. There's one particular client that comes to mind, and it is because she was a guest in my podcast, and you can come back to listen to that episode. And she hired me. I helped her through the mediation. We sat with the attorney. We had this great strategy. She knew what she wanted. We knew what she wanted to end up with at this mediation. And with the help of the attorney, we came up with the idea of how we were going to present that at mediation. And if you have heard what we said in the beginning of the mediation, you would have thought that we didn't get anything we wanted, because at the end of the day, we got exactly the opposite. And it was literally because of the strategy that we brought to the table, combining the financial and the legal, and it worked. And it worked great. My client was able to get what she wanted. She's thriving in life today. And it is simply because she had the right professionals working together as a team. We put our heads together, we brainstorm, we have strategy. And again, I cannot tell you how much of a difference a strategy does. Because when I look at numbers, I see things that nobody's really looking at. And I'm paying attention, and I know they're going to have issues that are going to come up. So we need to get ahead of them, and we need to prepare for that. And also because I see what can happen after when it comes to the finances. So I will highly recommend that you do not go through this process without a CDFA. It can be me, it can be someone else like me. But I think it's very important that you understand that these financial decisions will affect you the rest of your life. And if you want to protect your legacy, if you want to protect your livelihood, and if you want to protect all the work that you put in your life up until now, and make sure that you can go through this process, everything is shaking a little, but then you're going to come into the other side thriving, you need your divorce financial strategy. So share this with your friends, share this with someone that is going through this process, and reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. I have conversations with individuals all the time, and even in my conversations, I give them little nibbles and things, and they're like, oh, I didn't think about that. Yes, because that's not what you're trying to do, to think about that, but I am. So let's protect your legacy. Let's protect your business. Let's protect your livelihood. Reach out. Let's have a conversation. Let's start working on your divorce financial strategy, because it is essential. It's not a luxury, and is the best investment you're going to make during this process. Thank you for listening again. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you're going through a separation or divorce, please contact me through my website at everafterwealth.com. I would love to be a resource and partner as you navigate this season and prepare for your financial